Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the first CPD virtual workshop here at Places for People in Sheffield. Today, my team of expertise-led coaches are going to be going through the PE curriculum, and they're going to be talking in depth about all the great work we've done over the last academic year. Now, I'd like to obviously first welcome all the partners joining, and also our most important people, which are the primary schools. We are here today, sadly without you, which is a little bit, it's very disappointing from us. But the most important thing moving forward is that we deliver PE with lots of positivity, and also give the children in your school that high expectation, which is needed, and for what Qualitas is going to be delivering this year. Now, without further ado, I'm going to be handing you over to our first PE specialist, which is Andrew Glossop. Thank you.
Morning. Nice to see you all this morning through a camera. I'm sure we're going to try our best to get through this without any hiccups. It's the first time for us all to be in this sort of position. So if there are any hiccups or anything, I'm sure we'll try and rectify it. Behind what you can't see, I'm looking at loads of computers and wires, so we're hopeful that you can see the screen. We're also going to have the PowerPoint running next to it to take you through everything today. So hopefully you're going to get the best experience from this. So like Gavin said, we're going to look at the PE curriculum today, along with the schemes of work and the PE assessment. So look at adaptations, a bit of a curriculum map, and hopefully give a bit of an identity to you and your school. We're going to look at the schemes of work that we've designed and how they're going to fit in with the PE curriculum. And then we're also going to look at the assessment tracker at the end, which will help for you to track your progress within PE and just sort of show your intent through your PE curriculum. All right, so 3 big purposes from today. We want to sort of give you, if you haven't already, we want to make sure that you leave today with an idea to help you have a clear understanding of your PE curriculum in school. Now, some of you sat there will have a really good PE curriculum that you're certain on and you're sure of, so it might just be reaffirming that. Some of you, it might be a good opportunity, or you might be looking at your PE curriculum to change it or tweak it or start afresh. So we're hoping by the end of today you're going to have a clear understanding of where your PE curriculum fits within your school. So like we said, see, and I've put there in your school, so each and every school's different. You've got different values, different outlooks on PE, so it's just looking at how and where it fits in with your school specifically. And then how PE fits in with your 3 I's, so intent, implementation and impact, how it all fits in. Just before we sort of get started on that, some of you might have seen this Qualitas Wheel. I'm just going to introduce Ash this morning, who's going to take you through this, and then he's also just going to touch on a little bit of the strategy and the curriculum for you. So I'm just going to pass you on to Ash.
Hi guys, I hope everyone's well. So from keeping in contact with some of the schools over lockdown, some people might have seen, or I might have explained, this Qualitas Wheel of Change that we've got on the PowerPoint next to us. So basically what it is, we're looking at 2 sort of things. So developing children, but also developing coaches, and that is what this Qualitas Wheel tries to encompass. In terms of schools, we've kind of broken down the Qualitas Wheel into 3 things. So first thing being the strategy, which we're going to be talking about today, then providing children with the opportunity, and then linking it to the expertise and the kind of experience the children get out of it, and again using that experience and the expertise and the assessment to then redevelop the PE curriculum or the opportunities, and continuous cycle of change. Now, today what we're going to look at is the curriculum and the framework, but also the schemes of work that slot into that part of the strategy as well. And again, from last year, we've looked at, well, I developed the PE curriculum for three main reasons. Obviously to try and put a little bit of structure and give a bit of structure to schools that needed the help. The second one being provide a different angle for schools. Again, looking from a sports and a sports science background. And the third one is kind of bolster everything and put everything together and make everything link. So from not just from a physical point of view in terms of teaching lessons, it's about looking at encompassing after school clubs, lunchtime clubs into the whole curriculum, but also the courses that are going to help children develop psychologically, mentally, as well as physically. Now, again, what we're going to run through today is it's going to be all about the 3 I's. So the intent, the implementation, and the impact. Yeah. So once we've gone through that, we'll split the sessions up, or the PE curriculum into them 3 bits. I know I've got certain people dropping in to work on them 3 I's separately, so it's a bit of a change of voice. But hopefully by the end of it, we'll have a greater understanding of the PE curriculum. Again, it's there for you to take bits out of if you've already got a curriculum that works. And again, if you need more help with it, it's there as a bit of a base for you to build on and develop.
Thanks, Ash. Just a little bit as well. So you might not be able to see us that well in the corner. We might be silhouettes, but that's fine. We're more after you be able to see the screen. I know you've got the slides up in front of you as well, but as long as you can hear us all right and maybe just see where I'm pointing to it if we need to. So don't worry if you can't see us, okay? Might be better on a first thing on a Friday morning. Just got a little YouTube video we're going to play now for you if we want to have a watch.
The coronavirus crisis is changing life as we know it dramatically tonight.
I can't wait for a year's time, when all of this is a distant memory. And there is a corona baby boom because all the lovers were loving. And there is a rise in small businesses because all the entrepreneurs had a moment of stillness and creativity. And all the children remember nothing but a time when all the mums and dads were at home drawing and playing ball games, and we remember it as the time we all got to stop and be present. We will remember the time our health was our first priority and people learned new ways to use fresh produce to feed their families. We remember the laughter and fun on TikTok, FaceTiming with our friends and family each day, date nights in the house, and home PE workouts with Joe Wicks. A time our real heroes in the NHS urged us to stay at home for the greater good, and our country showing their support by turning Wembley and the Angel of the North blue. And we were all forced to think outside the box and dream up new things and reinvent old ways, and for once, even amongst the chaos, there was community. There was a global rise in togetherness, and as the streets were quiet, our homes were bustling with love and laughter. That time is coming soon, just like any other crisis before it. This will all be a distant memory, a thing we soon listen to our children discuss in classrooms, or once was, that we share with our grandchildren. So to you, I know it's unsettling, but focus on the silver lining. We're all in this together, and there is so much beauty to see.
Okay, so that was just obviously a little bit about what happened in terms of over the last few months that we've all had to go through, and we appreciate everything you have to do as teachers as well. And I think the key, what we're trying to get at is, despite everything that's happened in the current circumstances we're in, we still want to get back to times like these where your children at your school, excuse me, are getting back to these sort of times. Now, it might not look like this over the next few months, over the year, nobody knows at the minute, but these are the times where we feel that these are where we're getting the children are going to get most from it through PE, and we want them to get back to enjoying times like this and experience different things that they might not experience on a daily basis. In terms of the importance of PE, a lot of you will have already known this or still know this now, but PE in sport improves skill and motor development. It teaches self-discipline, stress reduction and release, like tension and anxiety. It strengthens peer relationships, improves self-confidence and self-esteem, and it improves concentration, all in which, if we can combine that in schools well enough, we feel it's going to improve academics. Now, you as teachers at the minute, you are not only having to progress people on their new school years, the new academic year, but we appreciate that video sort of showed all the positives that have gone on at home. We know full well there'll be children that have sat at home during lockdown and through all these difficult times that didn't get that support from themselves, either because they didn't have the access of it or they didn't have the resource or whatever it might be. So your job as teachers now, the gap between one end of the children in your classroom to the other might have actually got bigger. So we appreciate and realise that you've actually got to, as teachers, you're trying to progress and develop people while also probably playing catch up on the stuff that they've missed last year. So what we're trying to get at is this, what we want to get through today is the importance of PE in sport, and if we can get PE in sport and the curriculum right within your school, it will help with all these things and therefore help lead to improve academics in your school and help those children catch up again and push on and progress further. Just a little bit of a start. These, if you can't quite see it clearly, these just sort of represent and show that children that had PE at school, all right, so children playing team sports now, 50% of them had PE at school, so it's a direct correlation between if you had PE at school and it was good, there is an increased chance that you will continue to participate in sports afterwards and into adulthood. So that's what these sort of diagrams represent. So again, it's just we want to make sure we're here to support you to ensure that we get the PE and the curriculum right, so then the children leaving and going to secondary school and then beyond continue within PE and sport, again to help with not just the academics but with everything else, the self-discipline, the confidence, to release anxiety, because we know that's probably a big thing now as well. This is just a picture, a bird's eye view of a brain as well. So on the left hand side you've got, this is a person after sitting quietly. So you look at the heat and the sort of the movement in there, there's not much going off. The one on the right is after a 20-minute walk. So after a 20-minute walk, this is how active in the brain can be. So again, we're saying if we can get it right in schools with the PE and the curriculum, this will actually help when they're in classroom, because the stats show that they'll be able to concentrate more and work a little bit harder. Again, I know I've touched on this, so why are we discussing this? Just the importance of getting it right this year especially. So again, not only have we got progression, but we've also got probably a bit of catch up to play as well. So we want to equip the children with the right skills to go forward and progress and develop in schools, show the right values, and just learn even stuff like how to win and lose, how to come back from a difficult situation. If they're in a lesson in English or maths and they don't quite get something, we want to teach them through this PE as well that actually it's okay not to know something, but we can't just give in. We've got to be able to accept the fact we don't know it yet, but what are we going to do to put steps in place to be able to learn it? Again, sort of the big elephant in the room when we're talking about this is obviously the COVID and the current regulations we're in as a society, but also you're in a school and the guidance you're having to follow. We understand that obviously you've got bubbles, you've got equipment, there's lots of different things that I'm sure your brains are better hurting because you've had to go through that much risk assessments and analysing this, who can we have back, who's going to be in what classroom. So we are going to look at that today and hopefully give you solutions to making sure that this doesn't impact the PE curriculum, or aware, and if it does, we can still improve it and make sure the children are getting the most from it. So going on a bit more today, this is what we're going to go down, so the Ofsted's 3I, so we're going to go through the intent, the implementation and the impact of your PE curriculum. So in a second, Catherine's going to come on and we're going to take you through the intent. The idea behind this is we want you and your school to have a really clear identity, so that if anybody asks you the question, or as a staff, you all know where your PE curriculum fits within your school. All right, so that's where we're on now. We're going to focus on intent. So I'll bring Catherine to the screen.
So I think the first kind of starting block when you're thinking about PE for your curriculum and PE in your school is thinking about why. What do you want to achieve from your PE curriculum? So these are the 5 indicators that we have come up with for our Qualitas curriculum that should flow and kind of link to how it goes on in your school. So when you're thinking about your vision statement and what you want PE to look like in your school, these are the kind of things that you should be thinking about. So what are your school values? How is PE running through your school rather than just in the PE lessons? Where else can you get it in your curriculum? What are you wanting to get out of it? So it might be that you focus on all 5, it might be that you're just focusing on one, such as fundamental movement skills, so you might just want to make sure that you've got those covered throughout the school, and then they can progress through sport later on in secondary schools and in lifelong participation. It might just be that you are a really competitive school and you're more focused on the events, and you want to give children those opportunities to take part in events. All this needs to kind of be detailed in your vision statement and set out as intentions. You need to be having a think about what support you need within your PE curriculum. Is it the lesson plans? Is it the medium-term plans? Is it the actual teaching of PE? And kind of direct that help towards those areas where you need support. And I think you kind of need to get all this down before you start onwards with this journey. So I've kind of prepared, if you look at the attachment that I sent, detailed vision statement and notes, it's kind of on there. I prepared a vision statement as if I was working in my school. These are the kind of things that I would include. So you are welcome to have a look at these, steal some of these, borrow some of these, and kind of write your own vision statement which details everything that you want to get out of PE in your school. So I've attached as well to that sheet a kind of little note-taking piece of paper, so you can write down any ideas that you get throughout this and kind of add it in, so by the end of the CPD you will have something kind of to get together and write it up as a full vision statement. So I think it's important to remember when you're thinking about intent and how PE looks in your school, it's not just about the physical aspects, it's not just the children actually taking part in PE lessons. So you need to be thinking about what else is it that you are, what other opportunities are you providing throughout your school day, throughout your school life. Are there any extras that fit in with the content that you've got already, such as the leadership course, the Change for Life course, the sports psychology, sports science? Have you got lunchtime clubs or after school clubs? Because all of these things really help with the social and the psychological side of sport as well as the physical side. So you need to grasp what you want to achieve out of sport in your school and kind of get it all down in your vision statement, which goes towards your intent, because once you have your intent you can then build your blocks with your implementation. How is it going to look in practice, and then what impact is it going to get from the kids actually doing it. So does it fit your intent and how does it impact your intent? So then I think we're on to implementation.
Lovely, thank you, Catherine. So again, just to sort of reiterate the points there, the sheet you've got in front of you is just for you to make notes on, for you to write ideas down or any questions. If you do have any questions for today, there should be a little live feed where you can make a comment, or if need be, you can email us through, and we're still picking emails up now. So if you do have any urgent questions right now, please feel free to email us or try and leave a comment on the screen below, and we'll try and answer them as we go through them today. But again, like I mentioned earlier, some of you in school now will know exactly where your PE curriculum fits, what your school values are. You'll have everything sort of in place, so that what we want to just embed is the people that maybe haven't got that or are on about changing it, or a new PE coordinator, is just ensuring that we know where your PE curriculum fits in. What is the intent of your PE curriculum? Is it the skills? Is it the competition? Is it all of the above? But it just gives you a bit of almost an identity. So if anyone does come in, Ofsted, and a parent asks, you can all say, every teacher can come back and say, our intent is X, Y, Z, whatever it might be. So hopefully that's given you a bit of an idea on that. And we've got the first I's ticked off. Again, if you've got any questions, please fire it our way. We've got people on the screens that you can sat in front of me. So we're going to look at the implementation of it now. So from what we've looked at in your intent, how do we plan on meeting that intent? How do we go about ensuring we get to that stage? I've put on there, don't panic. And what I mean by that is what we're now trying to get at and what we're about to go through. It might be change, it might be different, we might be throwing a lot of things at you. This isn't to scare you, this isn't to panic you. We know we've got the schools we're working in do a great job at what they do. What we're trying to get at is everything you want to get out of your PE curriculum, as a school, it can't be done in 1 year. I'd say it's impossible. So what we're going to look at is how we're going to rota your intent, how are we going to split your intent over the whole time that children are in primary school. So over the 7 years they are in primary schools, how are they going to meet the intent of, and what opportunity we're going to give them over the 7 years. Again, we don't expect it to be done over one single year. How can we fit the intent over the 7 years so all the children are accessing everything possible? We've sent it, again, if you have any issues with any of the attachments we've sent, we'll send it again. We have put on there the PE curriculum. So we've got a Word document on there that's got the PE curriculum. It's got from the beginning the 3 I's, the implementation, and then it goes through each sports and a breakdown. We are going to touch on that a little bit later. Towards the end of it, you'll see this PE curriculum map. Now this is something we've devised and put together from our own experience, from national governing bodies and from the national PE curriculum. Now we don't expect this to be the polished or the finished article by any means. Different schools vary on not only on, like, you've got space, you've got equipment, if it's wet and you've got nowhere to go out there, so you might not do it in this order. This is just sort of a recommended sort of PE curriculum where we feel that over the 7 years of being from reception to year 6, they will be able to get everything or access everything out of this. You'll see in the lower columns here, for the year 3, 4, 5 and 6, we've put invasion games. Now we've left that as a generic invasion game. As a school, you again might decide that for year 3, every year 3 class, every year are going to do tag rugby because it is an invasion game. In year 4, we're going to look at basketball. In year 5, we're going to look at hockey. In year 6, we'll look at netball or handball. So that's where we're going to look at the different invasion games. As a school, you might decide to teach invasion games as more attack and defence and tactics and pull out different skills from football and hockey and handball. So that's where it gives you a bit of licence to move it. Again, we've put dance in the middle and gymnastics in the middle just because of sort of the poor weather. You might move that earlier if you've got a sports hall available. So again, that isn't set in stone. It's just an idea that we feel we can cover everything over the 7 years. Possible changes, and I think again the obvious ones for this year are possibly you're looking at the autumn 1 and even autumn 2 now we're going into it. Like we mentioned earlier, it's been a long time for a lot of children that have been sat at home. Now some will have had access and they'll have gone on walks, they'll have gone on runs to the park, they'll have taken a ball with the family and the parents and the guardians to go and play sport and be active. We know there'll be some children sat out there that haven't been able to do that and may have been left isolated during this time. So it might be that your obvious changes this year is you might change autumn 1 to more fundamentals. So even for the key stage 2, you might do invasion games, but we might base it around the fundamentals of your balance, coordination, agility, your throwing, your catching, and just get everyone back to a baseline. Then we can move on through the year ahead. Again, the other obvious changes this year, depending on sort of your school's ethos and depending on what your guidelines are as a school, it might be that you aren't comfortable doing football, handball as a game. It might just be skill-based. So when we go on to the curriculum later, we'll sort of tweak that anyway. But again, you might, if you have to go outside, you might not do gymnastics yet. You might not have a sports hall big enough to fit the amount of children you can do with windows open, social distancing. So this year especially, there might be changes on there, which we understand. So this is just to give you a bit of a platform to possibly work off. I'm going to introduce Johnny now, who's going to take you through our schemes of work that we have designed, which you will have access to. I've sent you the basketball scheme of work, or you should have received it on the email. That's the one we're going to sort of use today as a bit of an example. So Johnny's going to take you through the schemes of work and where it fits in with the curriculum.
Good morning, everyone. Hope you're all okay. Perfect. Yeah, thanks. So basically, what we've been doing through the summer, we've been putting together lots of schemes of work for the schools to be able to access and use. Mainly really saving PE coordinators in schools a lot of time, and also trying to create something that's got real value and can guide teachers, particularly those that aren't so confident in delivering PE, to be able to pick this up and put on a session that's achieving the wider curriculum goals and the long-term plan. So the long-term plan that Andy's gone through, this hopefully will create a bit of a medium-term plan for teachers to use for Ofsted or anything like that, that will show exactly what we're sort of working towards throughout the academic year. So the example that we have sent to the members of staff that have confirmed attendance on today's CPD is this basketball scheme of work, to use as an example. We do have schemes of work for all of the sports and activities that we set out in our PE curriculum, and again we'll be distributing these, and I'll explain how this will be distributed at a later time. Now, each scheme of work that you have will look exactly like this. It does look a bit sort of hectic on the eye initially. However, it is sort of broken down so you have the intent, implementation and impact. So the intent section on the left hand side obviously shows what you're trying to achieve in that particular lesson. So this is normally over a 1 hour period. The implementation is a bit of text, and some of the schemes of work do have little diagrams of how you may set up your session. And the impact is looking at what you are trying to assess, and obviously the impact would be associated with the curriculum's guidelines on what we're trying to achieve. Ultimately, it's a guide. It's not set in stone of this is exactly what you need to do. Obviously, with the spaces you have in schools and the sort of facilities and the equipment that you may have access to will obviously determine what you want to do. Also, if you have some ideas that you think actually this might work better with my children to be able to differentiate their learning, then absolutely, you know, use this as a template to be able to achieve your outcome goals. The learning objectives are at the top of each scheme of work. Obviously, these can be used to put into your medium-term planning if you want quite an easy-to-view medium-term plan scheme of work for a full half term or maybe for a full term. Again, this is just a way that you could easily pass this on to another member of staff and say, look, this is what I'd want you to work on through this half term. And this is sort of what I would expect to see if I walk in on week 4. I'd expect you to be working towards something around this. So yeah, we have these for each sport or activity that we've set out in our long-term PE curriculum. So how can you access these? At the moment, we've been working on them through sort of the lockdown period, and we've got them to a stage where we are ready to distribute. What we're going to do is, if the schools can get in touch with us of what they are delivering this half term and next half term, then we can distribute those specific plans to the school. Long term, we are going to have access to these via our website. So the website will have a link what the schools can log into and access all the PE curriculums. Obviously, this is providing the school is signed up to our school games programme. Once you log in, there'll be all the access there, so you'll be able to use them as and when you choose, and be able to distribute them to your teachers in your school, and be able to support them through it. The passwords will change on a regular basis, so just to ensure that they're not being sort of passed on to third parties, and to be able to protect, you know, the work that we're doing here at Qualitas. The final thing with the schemes of work, we understand that sometimes the narrative isn't quite enough for some people to understand exactly how to deliver a technical practice or something that may be a skill or technique that you're not entirely sure on what that may be. For example, if we said, you know, you're teaching a forward defence in cricket today, you might know how to put on a cricket session, but you might not actually know the technical way to produce this skill. So what we have been working on some videos that will be able to support the schemes of work. This is still in progress, and we kind of want the school's feedback on this and what they would like to see in those videos. Whether it's just a bit more narrative around what each session would look like, or the sort of key things that you may find an issue or things to be aware of when you're planning your session. Or it might be that you want, you know, everything breaking down into a full video, and we could put some short videos of how this would look in practice. But yeah, what we would like is some feedback, and we'll be sending some emails out about this to hopefully give more value to these schemes of work and make them, you know, a real sort of resource that schools will want to access and use on a regular basis. Yeah, I think that's everything on the schemes of work. If you've got any questions about them, by all means fire us some emails. We're here ultimately to support you guys, so please contact your cluster managers if you're wanting any more information on any of this. And I'm going to pass you back to Andy now.
Thanks, Johnny. So again, just to sort of reiterate the key points to this, that was just to sort of demonstrate again how our schemes work in the PE curriculum link. Hoping from again what you've got in front of you, that Word document that Catherine sent out in terms of the vision statement for your school and creating your 3 I's. If one of your intent is to provide a better curriculum within your school, then we're hoping these schemes of work couple with that to help you achieve what you want. Now again, some of you sat there have been teaching PE in primary schools for many years and have got your own curriculum, have got your own ideas, so it might just support that, it might give you some fresh ideas. But again, that is just how it sort of couples in between the two. Like we mentioned earlier, if your views are to just give as many opportunities to the children, that's where you might be accessing your lunchtime clubs, your after school clubs, your Change for Life, or that's what growth mindset. That's where we're hoping your intent and what you want to get out of your PE curriculum or your PE content across the school fits in. So we want this whole sort of school vision of the PE curriculum fits in smoothly to your whole school values and everything you want to achieve. Hopefully now then, we're now at a stage where in front of you, if you haven't, you've at least got ideas down on what your intent is for your school. So again, what is the PE curriculum? Where does it fit in? What does our PE curriculum stand for? What do we want to get out of it? The implementation of that, so how do we plan to meet that intent? Is it through the curriculum directly? Is it through that and after school clubs? Is it through providing more specific opportunities such as leadership or sports psychology, sports science to help the children progress further and focus on that? So hopefully we've got that. Again, if you've got any questions on that, please just drop us a message on that. We're now going to go through the impact. So I'll show you this slide first, and we're going to get the Excel sheet up. So I should have hopefully sent you the Excel spreadsheet. The assessment tool should have come through to you. We believe, or I believe massively, that this is an area where I find when I speak to schools, this is an area that schools don't have anything sort of as hard evidence to sort of say this is what the impact of our PE curriculum has on our children. This is where our children are, this is where they started, this is the progress, and we're hoping all of this is a simple and easy way for you to track your children's progress in PE. It's also a good tool to have to use at parents' evening, so you can actually show them if they ask why they're at that level in PE or why they haven't achieved that, then we can use this as evidence to show them where they are. So it can track progress throughout the school year, it can split the breakdown into boys, it's your whole class, it can do it into boys, it can do it to girls, pupil premium and SEND, so it gives you all the percentages. You can, because with it being an Excel document we've created, you can just resave this as many times as you want. So you could, if you're with the same class, you could save that as year 3 2020, and then the next year resave it as a new one as year 4 2021, or whichever it might be. And then you've got each Excel sheet for each year, so you can see progression all the way from reception all the way to year 6. You can access, I'll go into it in more detail, but you can access everything at once. You can access a specific sport at once as well. So what we're going to try and do now, Ash, who's on the computer, is going to get up the Excel spreadsheet. So hopefully you'll be able to see it on this. Just bear with us a second. There we go. So if you take us back to the home page, Ash, for me. Lovely. So I've left a few examples on this, and we are going to send out an updated version of this. So on this one I've sent you, we've noticed a slight error on one of the pages. It's nothing urgent, it has been resolved. We are going to send you the new updated one. I think we've called it version 3.5 or something like that. So this will be your home page. So at the top there where it says school name, Ash, if you want to type in, let's put Qualitas School in there since it's generic. All right, so that just means that you can, again, if you save this, when you go to File, Save As, if you save this right from the very beginning, you can save this as many times as you want, so each school or each class within your school can use it. We're now going to go to the index page, so everything, you don't have to worry about the tabs at the bottom. Click on the index page, it takes you to your class list. So all you do is, I've started this, so Ash can just put a couple more in for us to show us. So on pupil number 4, you'll put the name in, and then the next dots to help, the next boxes to help calculate all the percentages for you to access, you put a number 1 in the area. So you put the number 1 in the first one once you've entered it. So Ash, on that first column, put a 1 for me on that one. Lovely. So it'll turn black. He's then put in that this person is a boy. If you do one more, Ash, so if you enter them, lovely, so you put a 1 in the first column, which enters them sort of into the system. So you always have to fill out the entered column once you put a name in there. So the next one he's put as an example is a girl, and then you've put pupil premium. So at the minute we've got 5 people on there. Obviously you can fill that out. On the index page, you fill this out, it pulls through all the names onto every other tab. So you don't have to, you only have to input the names once. At the very top, Ash, as well, can you see where it says type here? Yeah, so in there you can type your actual class name. So whether that's, if you've got just individual year groups, if you've got year 3 spaceships or year 3 rockets, if you've got 2 form entries, you can type that in there. And again, all this sort of is hopefully explained on the front for you. So once that's in there, you click the Qualitas badge, it takes you back to this first page. Okay. So let's say that you are doing, so we're going to use the basketball example. So on here, we've just put it as invasion games. So Ash, you're going to click invasion games there. I've already started filling bits out, which I can show you. Ash, can you just swipe over to this bit here for me, please? Lovely. So on the document as well, we've put the assessment criteria that is in the PE curriculum we've sent you for basketball. So on there, it's got FS2, Year 1-2, Year 3-4, Year 5-6, and it is broken down into different categories. Now again, we've sort of designed this ourselves looking at the PE curriculum. This is for every sport. We've looked at the PE curriculum, national governing bodies, and from our own experience. This is what we feel children should be able to do within their key stage or within their year group. So that is what you're using. The schemes of work for basketball gears to this, and we're hoping that the schemes of work build to this, so by the end of it they can achieve these things. Okay, what you can do if it's a wet and windy day and you don't want to, or you can't physically take your computer outside with you onto the field to track all this, then we have made it printable. So if you press print, it will print off 3 pages, I believe, on this one. So it'll print off the names and so just scroll left on the sorry, Ash. So it'll print off the pre and post assessment as one. Scroll right again, Ash, sorry. It'll print off this one as a separate page, and if there's another bit, we're split into 2 there. Look, it says page 2 of 2, it'll split out. So you can take that as a paper copy out with you onto the field, onto the outside, and just jot notes with pen and paper if you need to. If you go back to the actual assessment, excuse me. So these headings up here, so on this yellow section we've got pre-assessment, those headings match the PE curriculum here. So in the first box is sport-specific skill execution. It's a bit blurry on my screen. So we've got that on the first one. And then we've got the other, on this scenario, there's 5 sort of overall assessments we're doing it on. What we've done is a bit of a key, we've put 3 on there. So the children, if they can achieve this, they are expected. If they aren't quite achieving this, we've called it working below WB. All right, now again, I know different schools don't maybe call it that, it might be working towards, you might have a star system. This is just a key, so when you're doing it in your school, we're always going to use this, but in your school you know full well working WB, working below, but actually might mean working towards instead, so it can fit yours. It's just a generic one. And then if they are above that, and they're exceeding what we feel they should be able to do, then they are greater depth. So on the left hand side, I've filled a few out already. Ash is going to do fill Steve's out that he's entered today. So he's putting on there, so this is the pre-assessment. He's putting it out, so he's put greater depth expected, and all it is, it's a drop down box, so you can go through all your children and just quickly pick out where they are at for each one. The reason we've done this and split it up is because you might have children in your class that are amazing in isolation of passing and throwing a ball in basketball. I can catch it, I can do a chest pass, perfect. But when we go into a game and we look at a game and attacking and defending tactics, they might not have a clue. They might find that in a pressurised situation, they can't perform those skills. So it might be actually, for their skills in isolation, they are great at depth. They're really good at it. They've got the technique right. It's perfect. Whereas actually in a game, they go missing. They can't quite do the skills because they're under pressure. There's a defender. There's somewhere they've got to go to. There's a target, and that's where they might struggle with it. So it might be for that one they're working below. Now Ash has filled most of them out there. It gives you an average at the end. So at the minute, Ash is working below. I'm expected. Johnny's working below. Steve is expected. So it works out an overall average for you. What we have got on here is, so we filled out the pre-assessments. We've also got a post-assessment. So again, each school is different. If you've got lots of time in your school, or you feel that you're going to do football or tag rugby, or in this case basketball, for 12 weeks, it might be you do an assessment in week 1 or 2. You see where the children are at week 1 or 2. When it gets to week 10, 11, 12, you might reassess them. And when you fill these blocks out here, Ash, can you just do the top one as a bit of an example? So if you put it, we've now improved, we follow the schemes of work, and we've met the PE curriculum and the intent. We're now above what we were before. So again, if you're taking this outside, you can just put it in pen and paper. You can just put a W, an E, or a G if you're outside. So it's quite simple. So Ash has now filled the top one out for me. It's now given me a new average for my post-assessment, and it's also shown me an impact for me. So for this person at the top's called Ash. Since the pre-assessment, he's actually moved up a whole level and he's improved by 1 overall. So it shows his progression from where he was at the beginning to where he was at the end. Again, you can do that for every child. Ash, can you just do a couple more for me? Lovely, thanks. Excuse me. While he fills a couple more out, I'm just going to nip and get a quick drink. Again, so you can just put that's fine, Ash. So again, you'll notice if you're looking at it on the screen, you might see a little error here. We've solved that, so that'll all be sent out. But you can see on these two here, this person might have stayed at the same level, but he's actually still increased by 0.6. So on this first score, he was 1.4 as an average overall. He's now at 2, so he's actually improved by 0.6. He might not have improved a full sort of target area, but he's still improved. Down the right-hand side here, this cohort overview, that just gives you a percentage of where your whole class is. So on the pre-assessment tab here, 40% of the class are working below, and that's on the pre-assessment. 60% of the class are working at expected, and the average is 1.6. Again, now there's a couple of errors here with some of the coding which we'll solve and we can sort. If you look at the post-assessment one, which we've now filled in for a couple of people, 20% are now working below, 40% are expected, and 20% of people are now working at greater depth. So you can see there, actually, has our schemes of work and has our intent and P curriculum worked? Well, yes, it has, because that's where we were to start with, and that's where we are now. And it shows you the overall impact of, we've actually improved. So the average there is 1.6. The average now, the whole class is 1 point now. So as an impact, we've improved by 0.3. If you just slide back left again for me, sorry. Again, each school's different. You might only do one sport for a half term for 6 or 7 weeks. You as a school might decide not to use this post-assessment. You might just do one assessment. You might just do an ongoing assessment throughout the 7 weeks. So from week 1 all the way to week 6, week 7, you're just constantly assessing them. Where's Billy at, where's Johnny at, where's Sarah at, all that stuff. That's fine. You can use this and utilise this however it works best for you. There's no right or wrong. It's there if you want to use it. If you haven't got the time for that, because I do appreciate, again, the time constraints teachers are under, you might just fill it out once. But again, when a parents' evening, anything like that, Ofsted come in, show me what you're doing with your curriculum money or your sport premium money, or what you're doing at parents' evening, a parent's questioning where they're at, or can you just show me a bit more so I can understand? You can pull this document out and show them exactly where that child is and according to the criteria. So where actually they're struggling with the attacking and defending, they can get the skills, they're just not quite as confident under a pressurised situation. They don't quite understand the concept of attacking space and defending. All right, they don't quite get that transition, so that's where we're looking to improve. So it just supports where you are. Now we've filled this out on invasion game. Ash, if you press the Qualitas badge in the top left corner, so the Qualitas badge on any screen sort of takes you back to this index page. If you click on, let's go on to Pupil Overview. Lovely. So this is all the sports on there. This is just a very simple, very quick overview of everything we've done. Now, this column here is invasion games, so you can look at all the sports. You might use this at the end of the year as a bit of an overview. So we've done basketball, we've done invasion games. I can see from here, at the beginning of basketball, Ash was working below. At the end, he was expected, he's improved by 1. Whoever was next, so Andy was expected, he's actually gone, he's working, I think that's an error, so correct me with that. So we'll use John as an example. So he's working below, he's now expected, he's gone up 0.6. Okay, the reason I say it was an error is because it says I've gone up by 0.6, so I think that's why. But again, it has been corrected, we have got a new version to send out. All right, but it just gives you a very clear overview. So if you so at the top there, we've got all the sports. I should scroll right a bit further. So we've got all the rest of the sports there. Again, if you wanted to print this, the reason it's got a bit of a gap is so it prints off neatly onto 2 pieces of paper for you. So it's not overlapping, it's all there for you. So, just go back to the beginning again, Ash, lovely. All right, now what we can do as well as a different view for, if you go on the pre-assessment overview, Ash. All right, so you might not be able to see this clearly. Hopefully you might have got it in front of you, or you can zoom in, perfect, that'll do as Ash. So again, down the left-hand side, you've got all your skills. So if you just scroll down to invasion games, Ash, perfect there. All right, this is where it actually breaks down your percentages. So if you are targeting boys or girls or SEND or whatever it might be, this is where you can use the percentages to help you. So just stay left a second, Ash, lovely. So on invasion games, as a cohort, so this class, for sport-specific skill execution, 80% are working below, 20% are greater depth. Game understanding, 40% are working below, 60% are expected. So that is your whole class. You've then got this section here, which is the girls. So actually within your class, out of the girls at the minute, 100% are working below. That's on the sport-specific skill execution. On game understanding, we've got 50% are working below, 50% are expected. On attack and defending, 100% are expected. Just scroll a little bit right, Ash. So again, it breaks it down into boys for you. So it breaks the percentages of. Now we've just filled these in at random, but yeah, you know, in terms of the working below expected. But it breaks down the percentages for you. So boys there, the boys are 60% of the boys in that class are working below, and it goes on then to show you SEND, non-NES SEND, pupil premium, and non-pupil premium. So again, even if you want to use this for your pupil premium and that might be where you've got to show more support in your school, you can say at the minute, well actually, we've got to focus on this area because our pupil premium children are currently working below. What are we going to do with our curriculum, how are we going to ensure that our intent of our PE content and curriculum is implemented good enough to then show the impact. So how are we going to do that? So this should break it down for you. So if you just zoom out a little bit, Ash, for me. Whoa, not that far. Can't get the staff. Bit more, go on. And just scroll left. There we go, that'll do us. So again, you've got this for every single sport. So all the sports that you decide to do in your year, you can track this and put it on there and save it. So you've got this as hard evidence then to, again, use in any meetings, you've got it to use at parents' evenings, you've got it to back up any documents you need to send off as a school to show you how you're supporting your pupil with premium SUND. It'll also help you identify areas where actually that's where we need weakest. So in terms of if, like we spoke about, if they're really good at a chest pass and they're good at the bounce pass and they can do all the skills required in isolation, but as a class you recognise, if you scroll down, Ash, sorry, back to Invasion Games, you might recognise as a cohort, hold on, 100% of us are working below for teamwork. I need to do next week, that's where I need to focus my session, or the next topic we do, we need to focus on the teamwork aspect. We need to look at maybe the tactical awareness, because as a cohort, we can notice that 60%, 80% of those children aren't where they should be or where we feel they should be. So that's where you can use the curriculums, you can use the schemes of work and identify areas for you to focus on and to improve. Again, this does the same, so if you just go back, Ash, for me. So that's the pre-assessment. You have got it for just pop into it, Ash, have a look. So you click on the post one, there we go. So that's the same, slightly different colour. That does exactly the same, but for your post assessment. So if you do 2 assessments on one sport, this will bring up all that for you. Lovely, Ash, go back. Again, as you can see on there, we have got different sort of sports on there. On each page, we've got our curriculum that is matched there, so it's there for you to see and in person. We've also got the curriculum map on there. So again, if that just shows you the map on there, so it's all in one place if you need it to be. Ash, will you just go to basic skills for me? Thank you. So we've got a tab on there called basic skills. So that might just be, it's just another opportunity for you to put sort of your baseline in. This might be what the children can do. It's just a bit more evidence for you. It wasn't the one I was thinking of actually. If you just go back, Ash, sorry, one more. Again, hopefully, because it's on YouTube, if you ever need to pause it, re-watch it, it should be there for you to do. So that's what I was on about. We do have, bottom left, Ash, physical assessment on that document there. If your school do any testing, because I know some schools have done this in the past or are interested in this sort of stuff, we have put on there an area for you, again, to put, we've done a 20-metre sprint, we've done agility test, we've done a chest throw. These are just sort of basic standardised testing, so if you're interested at knowing where they are specifically at certain aspects in terms of, let's see how quick our class is, you can set it up in one lesson, do a 20-metre sprint, get your stopwatch, time all the children, do it at the very end of the academic year, like Ash has put in there, so it actually shows you, have they improved their speed, have they improved their agility, have they improved their upper body power, can they throw it further, have they improved their flexibility, can they sit and reach further. So these just give you some specific examples again, if that's what your school uses. It's there for you to use. If you don't want to use it, you don't have to use it, but it's there for you. One of the biggest things on there, and I know we run our course to sort of support this as well, but we will give you this along with this, is a sports psychology one. So again, during the current times we've been through and lockdown, in terms of anxiety levels, and there's probably more support needed now than ever for some children that have been at home, haven't had that support, have been a bit lonely, and then psychology wise is probably getting a lot bigger in this day and age with all the technology we've also got as well. So we have got the sports psychology course that runs alongside this, but we're going to send you with this the questionnaire. So it's a questionnaire, it's quite simple in terms of the children just have to put numbers into boxes. But again, this is something you can now use and track as evidence for some of your children. So when they fill in the questionnaire, you can just put all the scores in. So Ash is filling it out now for me for the first child for Ash at the top. So it breaks it down into confidence and motivation, coping with adversity, concentration levels, peaking under pressure, coachability, freedom of worry. So again, that just might give you a bit of an insight of where your children are at, again, after the last few months and where we are as a society right now. So you can give that, it gives an overall total. If you pop out of that one, Ash, and just pause on that one, look. So we have got, again, a sports psychology pre-assessment and a sports psychology post-assessment. So again, you could do that at the beginning of the year, Again, Ash can then fill it out. And I believe this shows you, if I remember rightly. So I'll let Ash just fill this top one in to show you. Again, Ash is just sort of putting random numbers in a minute. It's all explained on the questionnaire, what the numbers mean. And again, we can support with this in terms of if you do the sports psychology course, we can fill this in for you because we'll have already done this questionnaire as part of the 6-week course. Ash, if you just pop out of that, then now we've filled it in, so we've filled it in on both. We can see the impact of where he is at the end. I need to refresh my memory. If you go to, just go up a little bit, sorry. Go to Pupil Overview. Perfect, stop there. You were fine there. So it's got here, sports psychology again there. So it's got pre-assessment. Ash, who on this one was at 40, is now at 59. He's improved by 19. So that shows actually where he at his psychology. So he's made an improvement overall of 19. If you just go out of that again, Ash, I wonder if it's... just go on the pre-assessment, sorry. Just go down. I'll stop. Right, okay, that's fine. Just pop out of that. That's fine. But what you have got in there, like I say, you've got the 2 assessments there for pre and post psychology, and hopefully that gives you something else to back up in evidence and actually identify. Again, it might be you be able to target as a class. We've lost all confidence. They haven't been able to access things at home. That's what we need to sort of build them up on. And again, you can then do that over the academic year. You can do that as many times as you want. You can resave it. Or you could do the pre-assessment in autumn 1 and the post-assessment in summer 1, summer 2, and sort of hype up. Do you know what? That's where our children were at the start, and through not only the PE curriculum, but through school as a whole and our school values, with the PE curriculum matching our school values, we've actually been able to help these children develop and grow and improve, and it shows that in the impact. I think that's pretty much everything in a bit of a very quick sort of period to show you everything on here. Obviously, after we've finished this, you'll be able to access this YouTube link again, so you can pause it, go back through it. If you do have any questions at all, then you can come back to us and we can help you assist or help you go through that with you, how it might impact your school. Again, with it being an Excel document, as soon as we send it to you, I'd recommend you just save it for every single class you've got in your school, and then you've got it. If anything ever goes wrong, you've got another copy and you can always come back to us. So we're hoping now then that from today, and I know it's not the most ideal that we can't have direct questions from you and answer any questions we would be able to in person, but hopefully now we've been able to take you through the intent, the implementation in impact. So in more detail, have your school got an ethos in terms of your PE curriculum? Where does your PE curriculum fit in with your school and your general school? Or does it go beyond that? Is it the extra stuff? How are you going to implement your intent? So this is your intent. How are we going to implement it? Is it through the schemes of work? Is it through providing lunch times, after school clubs, to provide more opportunities? Is it to provide more specific courses such as leadership and sports science to maybe progress children further? Is it there to help the children that might need more confidence and more support? And then the impact is through that Excel document. So hopefully through that you can actually evidence and show how your implementation has actually made your intent come to life and create these great citizens of your school. And you've got it there as proof. Okay. What we've also got for you, just to sort of finish off with today, we've got some quick wins in terms of when you are delivering PE. How do you know as a teacher, if you're not the most confident in delivering basketball or these other skills, how do I know who is great at depth? How do I know who's expected? How do I know who's working below? Some of the quick wins that we've found is from past experience in teaching as well. We find that you'll hopefully be able to identify like who is your really sporty kid, who's like your top in every sport, he's in every single team, he plays football at school, he does swimming. He might be your great at depth, so you can use him as he is great at depth. Who is your middle person, who is consistent pretty much at everything? That might be your middle person. Who needs a little bit more support? Who's that working below? Now you might know your children, well hopefully you know your children better than we do, so you know who is that greater depth, who is that expectation and greater depth. If you have 3 students that you know where they stand, you can then fill in everybody else. Actually, he's better than that person, he's better at this aspect, but he's not quite as good as the person that's greater depth, so he'll fit in this sort of bracket. Again, if you're even not sure about that and you're delivering a session, how do you know who's working below? How do you know who's greater depth? How do you know they've actually mastered what you're asking them to do? So these are some quick wins that are easy to do on a day to show this progression and show the impact on every single lesson. So you've got self-assessing, so get 3 different coloured cones. So you have your working below, your expected and your greater depth. Get them to stand at a cone at the beginning of the session. Where do you think, if I asked you to do this, if I asked you to do this in basketball, where would you put yourself? Are you really confident? Are you not as confident? Are you a bit in between? Then deliver your PE session. At the end of the PE session, get them to stand at that cone again. Where would you put yourself now? Are you above that? Those children can actually see, well, do you know what? I started on that cone. I'm actually here now. I actually get what we've tried to get from today. I know how to do a chest pass, I know how to do a bounce pass. I was a bit better in a game of getting some passes to a partner where I wasn't at the beginning. That shows you your progression. Other things to use, okay, is stats from the session. So can you set up a game? I like to do a game, especially for handball and basketball, around, I call it Space Invaders. So there's a team that are passing the ball. After so many passes, 1 defender comes in. Again, they continue. If they continue to keep the ball and keep possession, a second defender comes in. Now you could use that. You could do that at the very start of your session. And it might be that they're only getting, as a team of 6 players, they're only getting to 1 or 2 defenders before they're making a mistake or losing the ball. You then break the session down, you focus on the skill, you do your scheme of work that you've focused on, your medium-term plans, and then you do the same activity at the very end. And now, hopefully, if they're getting 3, 4, 5 defenders in, that shows them, and they should be able to identify that actually we've got better because there's more defenders in. At the beginning, we were making mistakes after 1 or 2 defenders. We're now getting 5 or 6 defenders and making it a full possession game. So actually, we've got better miss. We've got better because we've got more defenders in. And I think some of the obvious ones, a simple one is your Q&A and your understanding. So can they explain it? Even if they can't actually quite complete the skill, can they explain it to you? Could they be a team manager that says, look, this is what we need to do? They might not be able to fully commit to the skill, but can they explain it to you? On the PE assessment tracker, you can then use that and say, actually, their tactical understanding is really good, it's greater depth. They can't quite show, though, that they can actually show the skill. Again, just some other things on there. Have you got opportunities within your clusters, within local schools to standardise? Have you got internal verification? Can another teacher come out and have a look at your session? Have you got external, so again, a school that you're close to, or a head teacher or another PE coordinator, on their PPA time, on their PE time off? Can they pop into your school? Look, you're going to come do a lesson. Can you come and have a look? So I'm assessing them at this, but I want to see what you're doing within your school. Does it really match up? Would you sort of say the same as what I'm saying? We've also put on there peer assessing as year 5 and 6s. Can your year 5 and 6s start to peer assess each other and actually look at it and go, do you know what? They're really good at it. I'd put them there, so they're sort of in between. Can they assess themselves and say, this is where I'm at? Just before we finish off, just going to leave you for a second with this on the board, just for sort of any other business, any other questions. I'm just going to get myself a quick drink, and then I'll come back and we'll just sort of finish off and go from there. Just to finish off then, just going back to the impact, one of the other coaches just mentioned as well, on our schemes of work, as an end, on the end column, we've put ideas of impact on there. So there's actual ideas and for you. So if you're doing the basketball, for each section there's ideas on how you can track that progression and show the impact. So I know I've just given you sort of an example there, but on each scheme of work there is examples on there, and again we will have video links to support this. Thank you again for today and like sort of sticking with us. We hope it's been of some use to you, and you hope with the fact that with it being YouTube you can stop it, pause it, replay it. We're available by email. If you've not been able to comment on the link below and ask any questions, we apologise for that. It's just some technical issues. It is the first time we've done it, and it's something we can use for next time. If you do have any questions on the back of this, again, please email us, please give us a ring. If we need to pop in, we'll try and fit whatever you need. If you need any support with any stuff we've gone through today, again, please let us know. We will keep you updated, and we'll resend out the corrected and new version of the Excel spreadsheet for you to track that, and we'll send out links to how we're going to give you the schemes of work. But hopefully when we're looking at this sort of picture, hopefully you're going away today with the idea of you know where you stand in terms of your 3 I's. So you know what your intent is. Like I say, some of you will have already known that, some of you it'll be new to you, or you might be tweaking it. Where does it fit in? You know how you're going to implement it, what you want to do, and this is the impact is how you're going to show it. Not only the Excel spreadsheet, how you're going to show it every single lesson. The Excel spreadsheet's there to sort of back that up and support it, and to use it as hard evidence. So again, thank you for watching today. We hope it's been really good for you. We'd welcome any feedback you've had. And again, with it being our first one, we'll welcome the feedback to hopefully improve it if we're in this same situation come CPD 2, 3, 4, who knows, I suppose, in this current climate. Just in terms of any other business, you don't need to see the screen for this. We'll finish it there. If in terms of events, I know we've sent a few emails out regarding the events update in the minute up until Christmas, and we've given you sort of 4 options. If you can let us know what your preferred option would be in terms of the events, we can get that booked in for you, and hopefully get that booked in as soon as possible. We know where we stand, you know where you stand, and hopefully you're going to get the events then that you've paid for as well, so we can deliver them one of 4 ways. Again, thank you for today. If you've got any questions at all, please don't hesitate to get in touch. I hope you have a good Friday afternoon, and I'm sure we'll see you in and around schools very shortly.